BlackRock Bitcoin ETF was just applied for. Is this the bull run catalyst that we've been waiting for? This is Around the Blockchain. All right, we're also going to talk a little Promethium. We're going to talk a little Hong Kong. Go long. Can't go wrong if you hit that like button because, guys, we have some fantastic guests. We're going to get right into it. On the top left, we have Crypto Lifer holding it down, and he's ready to talk about whether or not he's going long. How you feel about Hong Kong, though?
Hey, let's get excited, man. It takes some time, though. Let's not get too, they're just getting some exchanges in there. That's all.
All right, let's slow it down. Let's slow it down. Bing bong. All right, also on, we have with the Bitcoin orange on today, it is RiceTVx, and I bet you have some opinions on Blackrock you can't wait to share. Just a single nod. Oh, wow. Wow. I don't know if he's muted or not, but you know what? I'm digging the vibe. Also on today, we have Crypto Blood. Don't worry, Crypto Blood. We'll get this back on the tracks. He is in the red. That's what. But when it comes to the Blood Analytics, always in the green. And last but not least, we have Firoz Khan holding it down. Firoz, one of the biggest jet setters I know. He's always traveling. Are you ready to travel to Hong Kong for a second story?
Hopefully one day. Let's see.
One day. I haven't been to Asia myself, so maybe we'll plan a trip together. It'll be fun.
There you go. That sounds good to me. We'll turn into a conference. All
right. Well, let's get right into it with what is Promethium. I think Charles Hoskinson, he said it best with this tweet. This was coming from not too long ago. Who the hell are these Promethium guys? They seemingly hit the scene out of nowhere, and they had some things to say to Congress about SEC compliance. House of Representatives, they held a hearing yesterday. It's featuring testimony from the Promethium co-founder, Aaron Kaplan. And after he took the stand, well, he seemingly was just reading from notes and parroting the SEC's official stances on cryptocurrency. In May, Promethium got the first ever approval for a special purpose broker-dealer for digital assets. They said, hey, we know what our securities of what are not seemingly ahead of everybody, even as Robinhood, Coinbase, Binance US, Gemini, all fighting to get some sort of cohesion with regulators. They're doing backdoor deals with the Promethium team. Also, there's a little wrinkle here, some CCP connections. I dug into it a little bit. 2019 SEC filings list Hashkey and Shanghai Blockchain as strategic partners and joint venturers. Those firms are closely linked to the CCP. Now, I'm seeing some cozy activity with regulators seemingly at odds with the other exchanges. Now, Crypto Lifer, I'm getting similar vibes of FTX. Are you seeing the same thing? Do you think this Promethium team, are they the anointed chosen ones, just like Sam Bankman-Fried was?
That's what happens. Your daddy does something with someone else's daddy, and next thing you know, you're with your cousins hanging out, right, getting the backdoor deals. So someone knew someone, and there was a connection there. Nothing happened. There's no such thing as coincidence. I firmly believe that. So they were. This is what happens. There's backdoor scrutiny. People get to sit down, and someone knows someone, right? You're at a dinner party. You're hanging out, and oh, that's Gary. Oh yeah, that's Gary. Oh yeah, my son wants to. Oh yeah, we should golf someday. Next thing you know, they lay out all the clarity. I've even seen it in my own life before. Like certain thing happens, you get the right lawyer, you sit with the right person. Next thing you know, they're like, the rules, but no one else does. You know what I mean? And you got to pay for the rules too. Either you get into some type of legal situation where you have to pay your way, and then you find out by paying, or someone on the inside and you get your way in there. It's a little bit sad, but also let's look at the silver lining of this, right? Some cryptocurrencies may actually be securities, right? Who knows? I mean, I don't want to, maybe a few of them, but we know a majority of them are utilities that are used to run the network, that are used for governance, that are used for voting. They're not just used to put my money in and try to get my money out for more money. At the same time, too, the SEC always says that they're trying to protect us, but they were just about to freeze assets on Binance US. You know what I mean? And they purposely did that to take 70% of the liquidity down, which was kind of sad. Binance US wasn't the great place, but it was a nice place that you could kind of, walk your uncrypto friendly friends down the line and say, hey, just make a Binance US. It's nice. It's easy. Dollar cost average into Bitcoin. It was a place similar to Coinbase where I would lead people at their very beginnings. They felt cozy with the .us. It didn't have hundreds of coins. And it was a nice little onboard, right? And they're trying to take that away from the average person. They know the diehard crypto people are here forever. We're not going anywhere. But, they want to stop that easy road in. They're going to make it harder and harder, but we're just going to keep going. It's just going to get us even more excited. Every time you attack the good gets even stronger. So it does look like there's some backdoor information here. It looks like these guys were kind of propped up from the very beginning, saying the exact same verbatim lines. They could even at least use ChatGPT maybe and like change the wording a little bit, right? It seemed like they were almost like puppets of Gary Gensler. So we'll see what happens. I like that Charles was all over it. We're all watching them closely, and we'll see.
We'll see. Well, we had a representative, I think it's Mike Flood. He had something to say. This is just about 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. We're going to play real quick. Let me make sure we're unmuted here.
Committee that your company's charter, which only allows for trading in a very small subset of assets, is evidence that no legislation is needed, just doesn't make sense. If anything, the fact that Promethium's customers cannot trade some of the most popular digital assets is an illustration of the broader problem, Mr. Kaplan.
Yeah, so a lot of critics pointing out that there's lack of Bitcoin trading, lack of Ethereum trading, and now we're not seeing anything, but all of a sudden all these approvals are ran through. Now, RiceTVx, it seems like, like I said with FTX, they're given the first ever approval here. They're given a friendly hand when everyone else has dealt a pretty bad hand. Why would the government try to sneak a crypto company through the back door? Is this ultimately to, protect U.S. investors, to open up some of these regulated securities?
Nothing that the SEC does is to protect the retail investors or just the everyday individual. They're obviously looking out for the TradFi system. They're looking out for the club that they're a part of, the club that we're not a part of, the club that George Carlin talks about. It's a big club and we ain't a part of it. So one, the entity started in 2017. They were approved for their licensing in May of 2023. So what were they doing between 2017 and 2023 is a really good question. You did mention the Chinese CCP connections. You did not mention the fact that there's former SEC and FINRA staff that's involved with Promethium. Mm-hmm. That obviously helps with what Leifer was saying. It's who you know, obviously. What's interesting is they say in that speech right before the clip that you shared that they do not allow their customers or institutions to trade Ethereum or Bitcoin. If you go to their website, they have a waiting list for individual investors outside of institutional investors, but I'm not even seeing where you can access an exchange. So, but the waiting list shows a little phone kind of graphic and some different cryptocurrencies, which include Compound, Filecoin, Flow, Cello or Cello, however it's pronounced, and the Graph as well. So with that being said, some of those coins that I just listed, the SEC has already called securities in the cases that they're bringing against Binance and Coinbase. So if this exchange is not allowing for Ethereum and Bitcoin, one, how are they allowing for these other entities that supposedly are deemed as securities, but haven't been defined as securities? So maybe that's their excuse. I'm not exactly sure, but I think the biggest thing that we need to take away from this is these guys are definitely plants for the SEC to try to point direction of regulation the way that they would like to see it go. And obviously, everything that we've seen in past congressional hearings, it's a lot of pro-crypto people. So it is kind of good to kind of have devil's advocates kind of play in the mix. But again, where did this company come from? It just came out of nowhere. They get all these licenses and now all this promotion. And they're also doing major funding rounds too.
Yeah, and a good point with a lot of hiring from the SEC and FINRA and other governmental bodies there, pulling in the regulators to work for themselves. All right, well, Crypto Blood, kind of want you to argue the other point. I like Filecoin. I like Cardano. I like Polygon. I want to be able to buy these things. Isn't it a good thing that we're fast-tracking a company to able to trade these assets?
Nah, I don't think so, especially when it's the good old boys being fast-tracked. It's not us, right? So I think this is just another illustration that the system is rigged against us, and we have to stop looking to them for freedom, for a proper regulation, for fairness and equitable rights within the crypto space. We're going to have to do it ourselves. And this just is yet another example of that happening, man. The game is rigged. So we got to get away from relying on these agencies, these councils or whatever. They're not in the favor of us. It's not for us. So They're going to get their good old boys in the back door, and we'll get it last. So that's how they want to set up and position everything, DZ. It's unfortunate, but hey, Rice, man, you better be careful wearing that orange bandana, man. That's Hoover Crick. Better be careful now. It's Hoover Crick.
Man, I don't play. I don't play the colors, man. I'm representing Bitcoin.
Wait, what level of Grand Theft Auto is that? I don't remember that. I don't remember that mission. Great Ice-T song, by the way. Feroz, final question here. We're going to talk about Hong Kong in a second, but I want to talk about, China. They're investing in Hong Kong. We'll cover that shortly, but they also have investments with Promethium. Why is China cracking down on crypto domestically, yet investing abroad? How do you reconcile that?
It's different goals and strategies that they've got, right, for domestic and for international reasons. I mean, we all very well know, China, CCP, they like to have a very strong controlling grip domestically, right? And things like crypto, at the end of the day, digital assets, all of that, it's a threat to their monetary policy more than anything else. It's a threat to their monetary sovereignty as well. So domestically, they like to keep a tight hold on it because they can do that on a domestic front and really have control more than anything else. Control the banking system, control the capital flows. Now, internationally, I think there's a bit of a war being waged here more than anything else, because what they're doing internationally is that they're diversifying. They're increasing their reserves on an international scale, which they don't necessarily have to control. And I see it more as a bit of a power play between two large economies more than anything else. And the other one being the US, because by strengthening their international reserves, ultimately they're kind of pushing against dominance for the US dollar, right? So that's kind of where I see that play coming into it. And again, as they sort of promote more internationally, then everyone's got their own CBDCs, everyone's got their own digital currencies. So now there's an opportunity here to, what I would say, would start pairing your digital one with these trading currencies. So there's two things. Domestically, it's control. Internationally, is obviously bringing that sort of, I would say, influence, that wider influence into the world.
All right, that's a pretty good strategy. It almost reminds me of the B&B trading pairs. You make enough of them, you're going to want to hold some after a certain point. So yeah, extra point there. All right, well, let's talk a little Hong Kong and should we go long? There's been a key reversal in Hong Kong's stance on cryptocurrency. Now the government is saying, hey, you need to open up your arms to these crypto companies. It came from the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, and they're putting pressure on 3 different banks: HSBC, Standard Chartered, and Bank of China. I looked which of those were the biggest. It is HSBC. They have total assets $3.4 trillion. They are a top 10 global bank. Also, the Bank of China, majority owned by the CCP. This isn't random regional banks based out of the Pacific Northwest. These are major banks in Hong Kong, major banks globally here. The 3 banks were asked by the Monetary Authority why they were not accepting crypto exchanges as clients here. Now, Crypto Lifer, I don't know if this is just a Hong Kong thing or if this is a sign of things to come. Do you see, or is there a possibility that China is going to reverse course on their crypto stance?
Thank you so much for the question. Thank you for having me today. It's interesting because I always thought there was this battle between China and Hong Kong, right? But it's almost like they're using Hong Kong as like the stepping stone to even get people in China and mainland China into cryptocurrency. I listen to a lot of finance guys, Jim Rickards and other people, and we've been kind of focused on the idea that China is stacking gold, right? And this goes to what Feroz is saying. They want their people off of the yuan a little bit. The yuan still is, basketed up into all the world currencies. And we know China was, for a long time consuming a lot of US debt, right? So they want to pull back from that connection with the yuan and their citizens. They want people to start getting into cryptocurrency heavily, right? And into gold. This will differentiate their population and actually separate them. Also interesting that they're going to do it at a time when Bitcoin's pretty close to a low. They didn't flip it out at 69K, 50K, 40K. They want almost like seem to get these, the beginning of their citizens here in Hong Kong into cryptocurrency at a pretty good stage. Maddox at a pretty good price, HSBC too. I mean, not like they didn't launder millions and billions of dollars for the Mexican cartels or anything. I don't know if I said that out loud, but so I like what they're doing now though, because even now you see Binance US just announced, we can't deal with US banking right now. Like USD is off Binance US. Like that's crazy, right? That was like a huge surprise to me. And they're like, we'll bring it back, but right now we're going to be a crypto only exchange. So I think they saw that happening, and I think you see the foreshadowing of you're going to allow cryptocurrency, but you're going to chokehold us, right? Operation Chokehold 2.0, and you're basically going to, or choke points, you're going to stop us from getting the liquidity. So they're saying, hey, we're not going to promote this to our citizens and have you backdoor us and not let us get in. So they're saying from the very beginning, a
lot of backdoor. Backdoors.
We know what he's thinking about.
You guys are ridiculous.
Mrs. Lifer, be warned.
So basically, they know, hey, we have to make sure we're going to put pressure before we even get this going, and we start signing up more exchanges to give them, because right now everyone thinks people are rushing into Hong Kong and it's going to be all awesome. They're really just letting exchanges get licensing, right? So you're going to see more exchanges provide the proper documentation because they want to make sure that they're not, they're at least not commingling and they're doing a little more than the FTX fiasco. They don't want to see that in the headlines, right? They want to make this hopefully a good, successful crypto campaign for the region. So they're saying, hey, if we're going to roll this out, if we're going to do it the right way, then we want to make sure the banks are already kind of following suit. Like, you're not going to come 5 months later and start blocking customers from their exchanges and start making issues. So I think it's smart that they're getting on them early, and they're also letting them know, hey, this is where we're going. If you want to bank, if you want to do business, if you want fees, then you're going to have to play ball with the way we want to roll. So I'm all for it. It's definitely pro crypto, and I'm excited to see it happen.
I'm glad you brought up, we don't want to see them change their mind 5 months from now. Well, RiceTVx, Bank of China, is majority owned by the CCP, by the Chinese government. What are the odds they go from friendly to no longer friendly? Is they're going to try to time this with the bull market to get, sell all your conflux at the top? How do you see this playing out, or will they not reverse course and maybe just stay friendly till the end of time?
Great question. Real quick, I just want to shout out to a dressed down lifer who is looking like a high school basketball coach, just needing a whistle to put around his neck, and I think it'll be perfect. As far as China goes,
he's coaching his Discord to make those good trades.
He went to Miami wearing like the whole suit. I would have thought that he would have started dressing down while he was in Miami, where it was extremely hot, but it is what it is.
I just shout out to I was sweating.
Shout out to the Chinese government for, getting a step ahead of the United States government. Hopefully this is going to raise more attention to the politicians in the United States, to bring more attention of why we need to make sure that we're bringing clear and concise rules to the cryptocurrency industry for the rest of the world. Now, I'm not a big fan of regulation, as many people know, but that's going to be what it really takes for things to really kick off. Now, if the United States wants to be left behind, of course, they're going to be left behind. Now, everything that Lifer has said is 100% correct. We don't see anything going on right now with the actual trading. We just see the actual setting up of the trading. And what is interesting, again, I'm not a fan of the Chinese government. Shout out to the Chinese people. Not a fan of the Chinese government, but it's interesting how they ban Bitcoin and cryptocurrency during the highs, and they seem to want to make it legal during the lows. In a way, they're almost looking out for their citizens, even though I would say that China doesn't do anything to look out for their citizens. But just that alone has to make you think, why are they banning cryptocurrencies on the highs, and why are they legalizing it on the lows? It's very interesting.
Yeah, Gensler, you're supposed to ban Doge at 69 cents. What's wrong with you? You didn't get it right there.
What's wrong?
We do have a super chat from Quad Crypto. Satoshi has just created, then he misspelled Bitcoin, called it Caspa or something like that. Never heard of that one. Moving on, though, Crypto Blood. I feel like there's a possibility of two different scenarios playing out here. We have Hong Kong Monetary Authority. They're reaching out to these banks. They say the key resistance came from the senior bank officials. Now, do you think that this is maybe just one tech star, a real forward-thinking monetary authority, a figure here? Or do you think this trickled down from Xi Jinping and his inner circle here? Is this just one Hong Kong rogue agent? Or does this go all the way to the highest levels of the CCP?
First, I'm glad Rice corrected himself about shouting out China CCP. I'm glad you corrected that, bro, because I was never going to.
My last name is Rice, man. What do you think? I'm about to. That's where I'm getting secondary citizenship, is over in China.
Oh Lord, I think this came down from the top, DZ, but not from the top, meaning the CCP. I think this is Hong Kong, and they're trying to stay progressive, even though we all know they had the China handover back in 1997. And things have been like progressively getting kind of worse. In 2014, the umbrella revolution and all that, and the white hair revolution. So they're trying to really push back against the CCP taking total control over their government. But I think ultimately at some point they're going to take over. And yes, they're allowed to do it now, but I think in the future, as Bitcoin and the cryptos begin to get more popular and you see the price rise, they're going to take that away yet again to show they still have power. They're not giving the citizens in the mainland any of these abilities and freedoms. So I can't see, as the Chinese or CCP continues to take over Hong Kong, I can't see that lasting for much longer.
All right. Well, Firoz, he brought up mainland citizens. Do you think these mainland citizens, are they looking at Hong Kong residents, their ability to trade some conflux, they can get some Bitcoin? Are they looking at that and jealous and saying, hey, we want to be able to trade crypto? Or do you think there's going to be a media blackout and maybe none of them even realize this is happening?
No, I mean, look, look, a lot of people say I'm in crypto for the tech. Others will say I'm in crypto for the gains.
not.
More people are in it for let's be honest, everyone's in it for the gains, right? Blood. So,
Exactly.
but no, and this is the thing. I mean, everybody wants a piece of that pie. So for sure, they can have media blackouts, whatever they want. But at the end of the day, they're going to want a piece of that pie. But as we've been saying all along, right, there is a lot of control. There is a lot of control, and I think it'd be difficult, for mainline clients to be able to have access or get exposure, to crypto. There's certainly going to be blockers in the way, but I think this also paves the way. At the end of the day, I think they're going to want to. And one of the other things that we are going to see is eventually they're going to need to be able to have that access, because if the rest of the world we see around us is getting exposure to crypto, all the other countries are doing that, they're bringing more capital into their countries, you're going to get left behind. So you're going to start hindering things like innovation. You're not going to get any of that. You're not going to foster any of those things. So I think over time, for sure, I mean, they are, but I think it's going to be a gradual move into getting exposure.
Firoz, will we get a V-chain pump from retail?
Yeah, for sure. Always, all the China coins will pump.
All right. Complex V-chain. I'm looking at you. I don't have you in my portfolio yet. That is. All right. Well, let's talk a little Blackrock Bitcoin ETF. Doing a little research. It looks like about a dozen ETFs have filed for a spot Bitcoin ETF. All have been rejected or just kind of in limbo right now. Well, this guy right here, Larry Fink, he's the BlackRock CEO. This is him pointing at the direction of Bitcoin's price, up and to the right there. They're about to file an application for a Bitcoin ETF. They're really, really close to this. A couple sources are saying they're going to be using Coinbase custody for the ETF and their spot market data for the pricing there. To date, SEC has rejected every application thus far. Coinbase, we did, I didn't do it. I didn't call up Brian Armstrong, but reporters did reach out to Coinbase. Coinbase has declined to comment, so they're keeping their lips sealed with this. Well, Crypto Lifer, I mean, I want to kind of ask you about the charts here. Coin has been beaten down. It has been beleaguered. It is just getting crushed lately. But now BlackRock has this potential huge partnership. Do you think that maybe BlackRock is looking at coin price right now and saying, you know what, I see some upside opportunity? What do you see?
It's interesting you say that. Show me the charts and I'll show you the news. And I didn't know you were going to ask me this, but I got this inverted head and shoulder kicking it on the lows. I started looking at when, Kathy Wood began to throw down. I think they put 23 million or something, or they added, there was two different positions from two of their actual, two of their arms of their investment firm. And they actually made one, I think 11 and 123. I can see their numbers in my head from the article about a week ago. And, they definitely bought the low, right? And, I'm all about that divergence. And I'm all about divergence on bigger time frames. You do see, the swing down here. A cool little trick that I'll talk to people about is, for years I wasn't that good at divergence when I was trading, but I knew my inverted head and shoulders. And then one day I sat and looked and I said, wow, about 70% of the time, maybe even more, you're going to get the bullish divergence. And that is really just the right shoulder and the head of the head and shoulder, right? And so you kind of see that right there. I've seen that before. You get this higher low, first higher low in a downtrend, usually can create a bit of a move. And there's a bit of a Sammy cup and handy. That would be your cup. This would be your handle. We get above this chubby point of control here on the 22-hour. And, I mean, there's a huge – whenever you have a smooth move down, you can get a smooth move back to the upside, right? So Shout out to Crypto Billy, man. You're making me laugh in the chat too, man. But there's a gap here, right? You get up here,
Coach
and
Lifer.
your next area is going to be, is that what you told him to say? 161 right there. So I mean, there's a little bit of looking here now for me with the ETF too. SEC and Coinbase don't seem to be too good of friends right now, right? Like they filed a lawsuit against the SEC. And I think that kind of revved the SEC up. They were like, "Oh, you want to come at us? Like, okay, we were just going to have to buy into US, but you know what? Now you're in too. You know what I mean? Now we're going to go after you too. You know." And they also just recently said to them, we're going to give you 4 months. And the legal representation for Coinbase was like, dude, we asked for this for like the last 6-7 weeks. We demanded like in 5 weeks, you got to give us clarity. And they're like, no, we'll wait 4 months to tell you what we want, and then we'll sue you. And so it's interesting, but Larry Fink is a big player, and no one says no to that man, right? He's kind of like the puppet master. So it looks like if he wants something to get done, he can get it done. Van Eck, right? They went at it for months and years. It seemed like we kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and we thought we were going to get it. We never got it. I would like to bring this to Blood and some of the people older than me too, or the same age, but have been in the game a little longer when it comes to like deep finance, or they just deep dive a lot. But the paper trading is good. It gets people excited, but it's also bad, right? Because it takes a lot of money away from actual Bitcoin. I mean, we know they have to buy Bitcoin to hold the,
that's the thing, Lifer. Yeah,
I don't
that's
like
the thing.
trading, man.
Blood.
That's what they did to silver and gold, man.
Well, that's a good point. Blood, let me ask you this though: will the additional 401k revenue, will that offset people buying the paper Bitcoin? What do you think is going to be the bigger mover of the price? Is it the paper not actually moving real Bitcoin, or is it that influx of that retirement money?
Oh man, the retirement money is big. If we can get that in there, that's a floor under the markets for sure. But here's the key: the ETFs that have been banned have all been spot ETFs. So that's the thing. I don't think they want people to be able to buy it, or these ETF companies to buy spot. Spot really has a direct impact on the supply of that said instrument. So we'll see what happens. That's what we have to figure out. Is this BlackRock ETF a spot one or a futures? From that, I can give you a yay or nay.
It's going to be a spot. It is going to be a spot. They're applying for a spot.
Interesting. So I don't think they're going to get that through, bro. I know BlackRock.
The article said that they weren't sure what they were filing for, but the Coinbase custody stuff would.
Could we cut to Larry Fink one more time? Larry Fink did not like that. He wanted me to. He's pointing at your point score, Crypto Blood. He wanted me to remove 5 points. Larry, I'm not going to do it. I don't care if you have a matching background there.
Exactly. Well, you got a red back BlackRock. Come on now.
Well, RiceTVx, I'm going to put you on the other side of the aisle here. Do you think it's different this time because it's BlackRock filing? Will that change the odds of success from zilch to almost a sure thing?
More than likely. Just like 50 Cent saying in the club, these guys seem to be in the club. They actually seem to run the club. I mean, BlackRock with their Aladdin bot are pretty much directing the Federal Reserve and the United States government's financial investments. So I agree with what everybody said as far as Larry Fink getting what he wants. But again, this is going to show how many different ETFs have been filed for, whether spot or futures ETFs, and how many have been denied. Pretty much all of them. And we're going to see more than likely, even though we saw Grayscale go for the ETF, Grayscale doesn't have the power that Larry Fink has. Larry Fink has been accumulating this power since the 80s when he created this Aladdin bot. Aladdin is in charge of more GDP than the United States total, more than Europe total, not in combination. But the amount, the last time I looked at the amount that was being traded by the Aladdin bot, it was somewhere around like the $23 trillion range. So it's extremely powerful. BlackRock's an extremely powerful entity. And between BlackRock and Vanguard, they own a lot of everything. And what's really interesting is also seeing what they are continuing to invest in, because BlackRock and Vanguard both are just continuing to invest in companies, giving them spots on the board of directors and allowing for votes that shouldn't even be counted by an entity like BlackRock, because they're supposed to be representing other people. But it is corruption at its best, and it is what it is. They are in the club, and I guarantee you it will get approved.
All right, and I meant to do this with the first thing. I'm actually buying 1 share of Coinbase. I do like what Brian Armstrong's. Someone in the chat, is it possible
Don't
SEC
show
could
that private key now.
freeze the on-ramp for Coinbase like they did to Binance US? It is certainly possible, but sometimes you just got to put your money where your convictions
Look,
are.
and Coinbase custody is a separate entity from the Coinbase exchange and wallet service too. So it doesn't really like what that arm of the company doesn't have anything to do with what the SEC is doing with your case.
Correct.
I know. Ultimately, it may be a position where BlackRock is able to accumulate enough stock where they get control of coin. So that'd be really interesting to watch.
All right. Well, yeah, that could be the real crazy like a fox move right there. Final question here, Firoz. I just kind of want to ask you, if approved, what does this landscape look like? We kind of talked about retirement funds, but then we talked about, maybe paper Bitcoin would suppress the price. So, then we also have added liquidity, which might make it less volatile in the long term there. So will there be a gold rush of 401k money, or will there be heavy manipulation like the silver markets of the 80s? How do you see this playing out if approved and BlackRock starts selling these ETFs?
Look, I mean, when we sort of look at the sort of liquidity side, yeah, sure. It will have an impact in terms of the volatility of the price, but that really is in the long run. Like we've seen in terms of the short term, I don't think it's going to have a significant impact. It's great news. We'll see a little pump in the price, but these things take time. Liquidity takes time to build into the market, and again, the more liquidity we have with Bitcoin, the more stability we get in the price. So I think that's a positive thing, and I think the other thing is that now it provides a bit of, let's say, legitimacy, if that's the word that we want to use, right? It provides a bit of legitimacy. So what that really means now is that, we start attracting more liquidity into the market because people are willing to put it into their 401ks. I mean, I don't quite fully know the whole ins and outs of 401ks because I don't have that over here. But the point being, actually, really at the end of the day, is that it's more legitimate. So, funds, whoever are managing those will think, what, we can start putting a bit more exposure into, Bitcoin. And because it's spot, you're going to start seeing the price, lift up with that at the same time. But there is also the opposite side of the argument that I will take, which is, when it comes to these types of funds, let's be honest, what we see in the media today is, oh, Bitcoin's crashing. Oh, we've seen another scam. We've seen another pump dump. All of these things, around the whole periphery of crypto still impacts the way Bitcoin is perceived, even though it's not directly related to Bitcoin. So, we still have all of these influences from supply side dynamics, market sentiment, news and events. All of these things ultimately have an impact on our short-term price. So it's a bit of both, right? Those who really understand the market and know and sort of understand how the sort of long-term trajectory will play out, they may well take the risk and say, you know what, it's going to play out well for the ones that we're managing for our 401ks. And for those who are kind of new to this asset class, who have just really been watching it from the sort of brainwash media perspective, we're going to say, you know what, let's hold off a little bit. And to be honest, by the time they hold off and by the time they get in, we're going to be even in sort of higher price range as well. And then it's going to be a complete repeat of the cycle. It's like, oh, do we get in? Oh, we're near the end of the cycle. We usually do a dump at the 3rd or 4th year. So, it's a mixed bag, if you ask me, DZ.
Yeah, the best tweet I saw described it said, "Oh, BlackRock got in too late for the 2021 bull run, and so they got to get in now." I think I kind of agree with that assessment. We do have a Crypto Billy comment. Rice, best deep dives. Visit the Fly Trap. You won't come out. I just like that branding there. All right, but that is all we have time for. And Crypto Lifer ended up taking it home. Oh, I'm gonna go around the blockchain real quick though. We're gonna start with Lifer, Rice, Blood, then Firoz. I'm just going to ask a simple question, yes or no answer. Crypto Lifer, did BlackRock just buy the dip?
Yes.
Rice, did they buy the dip? We can't lip sync, or we can't read your lips. He's like,
they've been buying the dip. They've been accumulating.
Blood, did they recently buy the dip?
Yeah, because they got money like this.
Great movie. Firoz,
got the money printer.
Did they buy the dip? That was a dry cleaner, by the way.
100% no doubt.
Okay. All right. So you said no.
No, I said 100% no doubt they bought the dip.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. All right. Also, great band. Shout out to Gwen Stefani. All right. That is all we have time for. Crypto Lifer, you ended up taking it home. Feel free, leave us with some parting thoughts.
Coach, tell us what's on your mind, Coach.
Come on, Coach.
So I changed my shirt. I changed my shirt in case I won. You didn't notice on the back end. I did the you know what I mean?
You still don't have a tie.
There's no tie.
You're still dressed down. You're still dressed down.
Love each and every one of you. I've met all you except for did I meet? No, I've met all you except for Rose in person. But God, it's so nice to be here with this group. I feel like it's a family, DZ included, all of you guys. Everyone, they're going to scare you out of cryptocurrency. That's what they're going to try to do. Remember, fear is a fake emotion acting real. All right. Worry is a part of fear. So when you use the word worry and fear, you're falling into their trap. Stay focused, stay grinding, keep your mind right, work out, stay healthy, get out into that sunshine and realize we're going to make it. Wag me, baby, wag me. I'm buying more Bitcoin right now. I'm about to put even more in. So this is the time to accumulate. And shout out to my people in the comment that like Caspa. Caspa is one of my favorite coins. I continue to accumulate it. I highly suggest you look at it. I am shilling a little bit, but I love Caspa. Beautiful coin. And that's Caspa with an ER. That's Caspa with an A. And just stay positive, everybody. Their key is to bring you down, to lower your frequencies. We fight them by staying strong, staying true to ourselves, and knowing that they're going to continue to print money and they're going to continue to mess up the governments, and Bitcoin will prevail in the long run. So thank you guys for having me.
That sounds like pastor.
Stay strong.
That's not coach. That's pastor.
That was the pastor. Hey, we all got paid in full. Nice little reference there. Make sure you hit that like button. That's all we got. Great O2 movie. You should check it out. All right. Until next time, DZ out.